Back again, Shadow Kings. I guess what I want to start out with this one is, you see that my horse's name is Confessor. There's a reason for that. Not the least of which is the awesome Joe Walsh song. If you haven't heard it, go check out Joe Walsh, The Confessor. And while you're at it, check out Life's Been Good to Me So Far by Joe Walsh. Just throw that out there for you. Okay, so I guess what I'm doing here, the first thing I'm going to do is, in the process of my life as I've lived it, know better, do better, right? Okay, so one of the things that I've recently come to figure out is I made a big mistake by not giving enough credit to an aspect of myself that is totally involved in this whole process that I mentioned, in the last episode, and which I'm kind of coming to understand, see the light of. As before, when there was a complete and total, utter, devastating loss, and I learned to do what I do, which is to kind of revert to kind of the safe space of my own little cave, got that hermit thing going on, because I'm thinking there's only one, mode of functionality, okay, which is on, and God, Jesus, God, I was dire. Okay, and again, there's good reason for that. I have good reason for that. And that equipment worked. That equation has worked for me in a lot of different ways. Just like having the antique shop and the whole entire life that I had designed and everything, right up until it didn't. And then things happened. And I find myself in my life, the same sort of thing happening to me right now, and that is why these kind of excursions into these Shadow King rides and into these rambling tales of what the hell are you talking about, whiskey, because okay, so I'm exploring my consciousness as I'm developing my consciousness, because in the void, that's what you do. And when following a directive that is so subtle and nebulous at times, okay, it can be hard to focus, especially if we just have trouble calming things down enough. And when it's in the middle of chaos, when all the explosions are going off and stuff, it's really hard to stay centered and focused and go like, oh, everything's great, okay. One of the things I like to say, how's things? Yeah, stellar and just getting better. And for anybody that knows me, man, you'll recognize the absolute black sardonic voice that's in that, which is kind of keyed me into the mistake that I've been making, okay? So when I talk about Shadow Kings, when I talk about the dark, sardonic, kind of malicious humor that I have about things, let me just say that's a patch that's well earned, Jack, on my jacket. And anybody that's here that's listened to this story, you're going to get this patch too, I can tell you. Okay, so part of the mistake that I have been making previously, which I'm rectifying now, is what I'm doing, okay, it's something as simple as this. There has to be two component parts to any thing that you're doing. That's physics, man, okay? At the very least, there is an is and there is a not is. All right? I mean, you can look to Middle Eastern, you can look to Eastern philosophies for this, or you can look to the quantum sciences for this. The range is up to you, but that's pretty much the be-all, end-all of the way that this world right here works. Okay? There's another whole entire world, and physics proves that there is, if you're not, spiritually inclined to believe such things, I can tell you. Go talk to Richard Feynman. Go talk to Stephen Hawking. They'll tell you. Okay, so not just one, possibly, maybe many, multiples universes, all right? So, but in this one, the functional properties of what we have are going to have two components, and I have not given due diligence and due respect to one of mine, and it's just as simple as this. When I was talking earlier about the fact that so many things that we think are polar opposites are two separate things. Well, what I'm going to tell you is in the same way that they're like, I'm walking up this mountain, right? This little hill right here. There's your grandpa ever tell you that? He had to walk to school both ways, uphill both ways in the snow. Well, if he walked to and from school, he did go uphill both ways in the snow, but he also went downhill. That's a real important component to what it is I'm saying. It's just that plain. Real important component to what I'm saying here. There's no upside of a hill without a downside of a hill. See, now I'm going down the hill. And if I turn around, I'm going to go up the hill. And it doesn't matter. I got some really neat stories about going up and down hills. And I might tell you guys about them sometime. There's some exciting stories about going up hills and down hills and grades when you're on the road, especially when you're pulling stuff. Okay, so as simple as that little exercise right there seems, it's actually a key to a pretty great truth, which is those two things kind of need to be balanced. But also see that the upside of the thing and the downside of the thing are part and parcel of the whole entire thing. It's kind of, you could understand it as kind of a sliding scale or range or spectrum of the thing. And even to isness or notness is the same thing. It's all part of one thing, if you guys can begin to understand that. Now somewhere, if we balance those two factors of any of those equations, there's kind of as a neutral point. Okay, think of a teeter-totter and it's going up and down and stuff. And now if you were a kid like I was, you're always into just checking out how they work, right? Which one of you has stood as the fulcrum in the middle of a teeter-totter and balanced it right in the middle? You ever can stand on one foot and do that and keep the thing balanced? Man, that is some kind of true power, and it's a thing that you want. But all of these things, and some of the, some of them are not fixed, they move up and down like a teeter-totter. Other things are more obvious, like something like a slide. You think that's a fixed thing in one position, and the top is the only place that that's the culmination. That's the whole entire, okay, but then you're divorcing yourself from a profound truth, which you will find out the hard way, because there is a thing called gravity. It also has a bottom. There's, just like a hill, there's an up and a down, and those two things are correlated in such a way and so magnificently and subtly, we don't even give it a second thought, man. Okay, and what I'm telling you is there's a whole lot of your life that is balanced in just such a way that is not as evident, but in some ways is just as simple. Okay, so when I tell you that I was dire, man, I'm not kidding. Right? As a business owner and as the little person that got up out of the driveway at 9 years old and had to get about doing business, I put away the 9-year-old me that wanted to just play and do things and have fun and stuff like that. And I got on with my life and making provision for me and my sister and trying to not offend anyone in the world, these kinds of things. And that has been a great machine for me. I tell you, I've made a lot out of it. But it's all been kind of lopsided. It's all been kind of one-sided, because one of the things, and I'm on this game now because, again, a whole lot of other stuff fell apart, not to mention a huge part of the world, if you guys remember, 2020, it was COVID, okay? And that was a conspiring event to make it viable to me in my mind that, because nobody's allowed to go out, right? To make it permissible in my mind to do a thing as frivolous as buy a video game and start playing video games, because that's not, any of it you have talked to me will know, that would not be a primary thing that I would ordinarily do. As a matter of fact, I had a somewhat of a derogatory view of video games, and again, there are reasons behind that, but again, I was just wrong about that and what that engagement offers, because I was ignorant. That's the main thing of it. But in the course of the 2 years that I have played this game and met the people and made the community that I have and things like that, things were happening slowly to inner me's that I didn't know existed. I've forgotten about. Let me make a quick correlation here. I don't know if I've ever taken a yoga class. When I was down here, we always kind of run into these people, and man, next thing you know, they're our best friends. This happens in real life to me as well. So anyway, a lady that we had been working for, she had us do an outdoor shower, and so next thing you know, she just thinks I'm the yoga class with her. Okay, I'd never done that kind of stuff before, so why not? So I go to a yoga class, and it's my first yoga class, and I haven't, I'm a construction worker at this point. I'm a handyman guy, okay? Like we poured a shower for her outdoors, and we did a lot of other work, and converted it, what was a boathouse, into an art studio for her. A lot of kind of odds and ends of that, and so I was in pretty good shape. What I'm saying, as far as muscle tone and strength and things like that. Well, so I go to this yoga class, and man, I did really well, I guess. I don't know. And the yoga instructor asked me how long I've been doing yoga, and I'm like, this is it. And she's like, wow, you understand, how you're really good at this, how this works. And most likely she wanted me to do more classes with her, but it's not my thing, okay? I get plenty of exercise in the work that I do, but let me tell you what, the next day, oh my God, there was not anything that didn't hurt. All of it hurt. That is like the hardest workout I have ever done. You're looking at a guy who moves 16 tons of rock in a day and not think twice by hand. I'm not kidding, okay? This is, I've done it. And, trees and hauling lumber and all, you name it. Oh my God, I had muscles I didn't even know I had in places I didn't know I had them, that are grieving me now after this yoga. Holy shit. And I never did that to myself again. I remember my mom doing some yoga things in the living room. There's nothing like this, half an hour, 45-minute, whatever it was, yoga thing. So what I'm telling you is, you get into these things and you do some new practices, you're going to find things that you didn't know you had. Well, here I am, I'm playing these video games, and I'm finding me's I didn't know I had. And a thing that I need to remedy right now, because one of the things that a Shadow King is self-cathartic. Okay? I realize the thing that I've been tripping over that hasn't made any sense to me, and now I do. I'm enlightened about this thing, because it's come to bear in a way, and the things that people say to me are things like, my little buddy, I have a buddy that I play with, and he says, "Whiskey, why do you act like you're an 11-year-old?" Things like that. Just deep truths, which is true. And any of you Shadow Kings that haven't watched my live streams, you'll see, man, it just is complete and total chaos, and we're just out there running the rails, man. I mean, it just gets so loud and crazy. And the thing of it is, I wasn't understanding quite the intrinsic value of that, except that it has started breaking shit off my life, literally. Okay? And I mentioned that, like I said, just about a year ago. So I had to spend about a year. I played story mode, learned how to use the controls, and then I got online, learned the kind of rudimentaries of the game, had a couple people that walked us through that we played with religiously. That was great. And then, next thing you know, we're off and running. And you know, I'm still watching live streams of other players and things, learning about the game. And then so that was about a year process, believe it or not. And I wasn't understanding the value of this education. See, okay? Because I think I'm just playing a video game. It means nothing to me. We're just taking up time and space because you're not allowed to go outside. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. You know, it's COVID, right? Okay, so here I am at the same time, kind of with this mindless mindfulness about how that it is. And as we go along, I definitively play the game and come at the perspective of it a lot differently than a lot of other people. And since people, you know, I was able to get on here and just be a dumb guy. Like, you know, I left all my boss hats someplace else. So I'm just a dork riding a pony, a one-trick pony guy. You know, and it was kind of liberating because nobody knows what I look like. Nobody knows what I have done, any of these kinds of things. So I could just kind of, you know, put all that stuff away and just play, which in my life, in my world, just is not a thing that was allowed. Just not a thing that was allowed. And I've done myself a grievous disservice by so doing. Because that's kind of what it is that I'm coming to understand now. And like I said, it is that we would teach what we need to learn. And what I need to learn is the appreciation for this aspect of myself. And so one of the things that they say in the kind of more metaphysical practices and things, if you've ever looked into any of that kind of stuff, maybe it'll be new for some of you, is that everyone that you meet is like a mirror to you. And if you can really take that into your consciousness and understand that, then you can sort of understand where you have sticking points and where that it is that you might make improvements in the total consciousness that is you. Okay, because really any problem or sticking point or judgment that you've got on someone, again, like I said in a couple videos back, it doesn't define them at all. It defines you and where your limitations and borders and boundaries and stuff are. Okay? And so I guess one of the sticking places that I had was for these people that spend 12 hours a day playing video games. Did I have a judgment there? Sure I did. That's what I'm admitting. That's what I say, confessing. That's exactly it. So what do I end up doing? I end up playing a video game for 12 hours a day at a time and live streaming it so everybody can watch me do it. Because, man, we're just all having a blast. It's all just working out, right? And different people at different times are telling me that this has some value to them, which I'm, you know, I get it, it's fun or whatever, but, you know, it's not, is it productive? I'm thinking no, because, you know, what are we, okay, so I wasn't getting it. Well, recently I kind of have started to get it based on what it is that I had said earlier about the one of me that kind of popped his head out and said something kind of feisty, which was, how about a let's blow the stink off the place sale? See, the kind of recklessness. Here I am, like I said, a pillar of the community, and yet here I throw out this thing that just is kind of to the point of ridiculousness. Well, here's a little secret. I don't know if you guys know the root of the word ridiculousness. You know, we think of the word ridiculous and this kind of a denigrating type of a thing. The root of it is ridere, which means actually to laugh. The root of the whole thing about being is so ridiculous has so that is the voice that kind of piped up, and at different times, and again, it's funny because at different times it has piped up to me, even in moments of duress. One of them is, again, when I was working in that shoe store, believe it or not, and for me, this is this inner voice, right? And I hear, and I've been devoting a lot of time, effort, and hours and things to. I was also trying to cultivate my artwork and build an inventory at the same time that I was doing that, because I was still trying to follow a dream that I thought I was going to have here in this little town, which is very kind of an artsy-fartsy community. You know, there's a lot of tourism, all these kinds of things, and so we were right in the wheelhouse where we needed to be. But yeah, here I'm working in this shoe store. Well, in the middle of all that, and again, my health, I'm still working on my health. I was a very low weight at the time, and still just running it into the ground because that's what I do. I hear this small voice at again the shoe store. You know, 30 people in there. It's crazy, and I hear in my head, "Don't knock your teeth out on the way down." Just as plain as you heard me say it, I hear it in my head. To the point I almost turned around to look behind me to see who it was that said that, and I said, "What?" And right about that time, but I was able to kind of put my hand in such a way that it wedged between me and the counter that was there, or otherwise I would have literally bust my face full on to the counter, and that would not have been good at all. So I fell down behind the counter, but I didn't knock my teeth out on the way down because that little voice preserved me. Okay, and there was just that like fiendishness to that voice, like, "Don't knock your teeth out on the way down." Like, you know, like I'm getting warned that it's coming, but at the same time it's like he's not clarifying, and to me there's a little bit of trickiness to that. And what I'm saying is, it's the same one that also said, "Let's have a blow the stink off the sale," and puts a funny spin on stuff even when it's dire, even when there's everything to lose. And there's this cadence or measure of, like I said, divine nonchalance, or tactical don't give a fuck, or, you know, a cultivated defiance of what is. That is this spirit or energy, or however you want to look at it. In the Jungian philosophies, that might be called an archetype. And the closest one that I'm equating it to at this time is what is called the pure eternus. The eternal youth is a sense of recklessness and mindlessness that I could not accept. Okay, when you're seeing all these mirrors of yourself, there'll be certain ones that you don't accept for yourself because you have some kind of judgment against it. You understand? And this was what constitutes in Jungian psychology of your shadow side. These aspects of things that you find in the dark and keep stuffed in the dark because you are not willing to accept that in yourself. And what I'm saying is, for reasons great and small, and reasons deliberate and accidental, this is a thing that I have rejected within myself because of the road that I needed to travel at the time. But the time has come also to rectify that situation, and I'm beginning to see the value of that. Not the least of which was the year that I spent playing this game, and just, like I said, 12-hour live streams, man, and I could have went 6 hours more. There's kind of an eternal vigor to that youth. And what, how did he put it? I've been recently watching a fellow that does the most amazing, oh gosh, how am I going to put it? Psychoanalysis videos, and it's kind of a self-help, self-improvement type of a thing, but just exploring the intellectual properties of the human dynamic. Okay, and his name is Jordan Thornton, and I'm really enjoying his stuff. And one of the things that he said, and he uses Jungian terms, so he says that mysticism is the expression of our psychic libido. And man, that just hit me on all wow, that's a beautiful way to put it, when I was not really understanding kind of what was going on, especially with this kind of whole mystic bent that my life seems to have taken right now, because I'm exploring beyond the depth of what I can understand from a technical perspective. You understand? Even from a psychoanalytical perspective, when I'm looking at these things, it just has gone beyond that, guys. Okay? And so we get into the shadow realms, and we get into those deep places, and I can tell you this one of me is also the same one that I have told a friend recently. It's like, rock bottom? Oh, fuck that. You know, I'm the one that'll get out the shovel. Which is true, because I've done it. Like, how bad can you make it before we get... And you guys have seen me play. You guys have seen how I play. I get shot, you know, I get shot in the game or whatever. So many people, they want to fight back and all that kind of stuff. I'll just run at them again and again and shoot me some more, shoot me some more. I mean, there really is a kind of a masochistic thing. And so when I say malicious glee, I'm not kidding. But man, that is the one that I've been employing more than most of any, without really understanding that that's what I was doing. Or acknowledging that as a specific and disparate archetypal entity that I was putting to use. So that's the thing I'm going to work on some more. I'm going to do that some more, because that same cultivated defiance is the same one that has been having me stand my ground at a time when a lot of things in my life are just really getting sideways, guys. If you play with me, you know that things got really sideways, and that's part of the reason we're on the road that we're on right now. And I haven't begun to tell you the stories of loss and tragedy and oh gosh, it's so dire that I've suffered and recovered from, because of this capacity that I have to access, initiate, and employ this kind of a mindset or thought process or archetype, if you want to call it that, that is so natural and is yet a thing that I was in full denial of the properties of. And what I'm going to tell you is, it's the one that will stand and say, hit me again, and mean it. Another way that I put it to another friend of mine is, as I continue to spit in the face of the world as an act of vengeance, personal vengeance, because of the kinds of things that the world has done to me, I don't cry about it. I don't take it hard. I don't get bitter about it. I don't take it personally. I don't take that home with me. I'll spit in your fucking eye. Okay, is what I'm saying is, and this is that same quality in different levels of intensity that range anywhere from frisky, like I was at the retailers meeting, all the way to feisty, all the way to plain damn fiendish. So what I'm telling you is, cause I can get really, really serious with it. And interestingly, when we're talking about shadow sides and things, and you know, being a whole and balanced person and all this kind of stuff, and what level of our consciousness that we're accessing or living in, and integrating, you know, the higher spiritual sides or the lower shadow, which are still spiritual, shadow sides, we have a tendency, because all of the literature is going to be focused on being up and being up and more up. And I'm going to tell you, that shit cannot be grounded, and it makes no sense, and you just start sounding like you ate too many Lucky Charms if it's all love and light and rainbows, Jack, okay? There's peace, love, and positivity, but it better be grounded in something, or you just sound like you're a fairy. Unfortunately for me, this is why I divorced myself from religious doctrine and dogma and all those kinds of things, and it really falls flat on me when you try to cheer me up with some kind of platitude that you have, because I can tell you, friend, just like me and just like Lily, it's not going to work. I'm just too fucking black. So don't tell me to get my head out of my ass and be happy and whatever, because I want to tell you, that's just not how it always works. Just snap out of it. When you live in a place and there is no snapping except for bones I guess eventually that's the place that you'll go to. And what I'm telling you is that just shows, listen guys, that just shows their ignorance of your condition, okay? Try not to hold it against, that was the hardest part for me. Try not to hold it against them. They just don't know how deep you go. They can't, man, okay? So let that shit go. And the thing that I'm going to tell you next is what you want to do is establish a baseline with a self of yours that feels stable. And just like the simple Newtonian physics of having a low center of gravity makes you less likely to roll, okay? You're hard to tip over. The same way, Shadow Kings can be centered and balanced and at peace and accepting of and sit in the middle of a very low range of frequency and be cool with it and light it up and utilize it and look at the tools that are there and the power that is there, that is absolutely in most realms of, from psychoanalysis to psychiatric care to whatever, to self-help to affirmations to encouragement and all this kind of stuff that you can get from every place else. Every religion has it. They'll tell you how to be up, but they don't tell you how to be down, man, and deal with it. So that's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you how to be down and deal with it. I'm going to tell you how to get down different, and I'm going to tell you how to sit right in it and pull that part of you that has that black little grin that is the fighter that's in you. And you can call that low vibrational. You can say, but I can hear something different here, and I can use it. And it's easy to say that we get in these dark places and that we can't see in the dark. Yeah, so? That mean you can't hear in the dark? That mean you can't function in the dark? You know, do you need somebody to point out where your nose is? You can't put your finger on your nose? Okay, what I'm telling you is suck it up. What I'm telling you is you can do this. What I'm telling you is that part and that component is in there, and maybe, like me, use overlooking it, because that same little impish delight is the one that is maybe going to get you out of some of those sticky situations, man, where you just fight your way all the way down until you just outlive and outrun and outclass and outmatch and outdo whatever problem it is that you're having. Just get down and get gritty, man. Okay, this is what I'm telling you. This is the capacity. And as far as an archetype goes, I know exactly where I left mine behind. And it has a lot to do with having way too much responsibility way too early and taking that on. I missed in a whole entire lifetime. A whole entire me I could have been. Now there's some bad ones that I could have been too that I also didn't pick up. Okay, but I also missed on some good me's that I have not been put to use. And it's the other side of the same mountain. It's the dark to my light, and the forward driving force and the ambition and things that I've had in my life that were unbalanced with the part of me that's willing to play and be defiant and be reckless and be all of these things that are literally the cutting edge of the void. Because that recklessness itself, not really knowing what the consequences will be, not having a real firm grip on what the outcome might be, but going ahead despite that. See what I mean? That same little voice that said, let's have a blow the stink off the place sale. That same one that said, I'm going to Texas with or without you. I am. See the capacity to stand ground right there that power has, and to hell with the outcome. See? Because I was a control freak, see? The operating principle me, dire, control freak, perfectionist, okay? Always worried, didn't do a thing, didn't make a move without the discipline of knowing every angle and all those kinds of you know, what the outcome might be and speculating. Man, we didn't take gambles, we didn't do risks. And what I'm saying is, there comes a time when and I would be forced. Those are the places in my life when I know I was so forced into a corner. That's why I say how I know the only way is down, because I was forced into taking risks, what seemed like risks to me, and I went kicking and screaming every time, man. And what I'm saying is, maybe if I can come to some kind of amicable agreement with this aspect of myself and realize the power that is in it, not the least of which is to put a huge measure of trust and faith in that things are going the way that they're supposed to, which again was very difficult for me to even conceive of unless I had a hand in it. It felt like I needed to be in control of every aspect of every kind of everything. And I understand why. I've got stories to back that up. You would understand why too, and you would say, I understand why you was a control freak, yeah. Okay, and why I felt the necessary need to have everything that I did add up to something. Man, I was such a tightwad. I didn't want to invest any kind of time, effort, or energy into something that I didn't see the benefit of. Which is why I was not a gamer. I didn't play games. I didn't even go bowling, man. I mean, you know, I had to be dragged to the bowling alley. It's like, because where's this going? I don't know what the point of bowling is. It didn't seem like any fun to me. Okay, and I'm not saying I wasn't at times fun. I was. We had fun at different times, but usually that would be some kind of an intellectual challenge. It would be some kind of thing like that. As far as fun for fun's sake, I didn't see the point of any of that. Because I was not willing to give myself permission to just be indulgent. Because again, the childhood I had, that was made wrong. There was no, listen, we grew up in a family where my sister got called out for eating a piece of American cheese. She just, we came in the house or doing whatever, little kids, and she grabbed a piece of American cheese out of the refrigerator and unpeeled it and ate it. And man, we got called out on that because that could have been a whole entire meal. We literally are taking food out of the mouths of the family because we're so malicious and impudent for thoughtlessly eating a piece of cheese. And she was 7, something like this at the time, 7 or 8, So yeah, she wasn't thinking, and neither was I, or I would have stopped her. And I learned my lesson from then on. We didn't make mistakes like that anymore ever again. I'll tell you that. And that gives you a little bit of an indication of the kind of pressure that I was talking about earlier, to be responsible in things like this within our family, and was forcibly made responsible for, not only other people's well-being and the food that was on their plate, but their very emotions and attitudes. We were completely responsible for that, and held liable. And that's a tall order for a little kid. Again with this, why this like just seems to be the thing. Shadow Kings, we just have to deal with all these wolves. I really don't have time for this. See how much I care. Oh, that's nice though. I'll take that. See, and again, so we have this dark thing. I don't sweat it, because this is a digital character. We had somebody was mentioned. Oh no, really? Oh, okay. See, it spawned me down here. These are the kinds of things that just drive me bananas, because I really don't care about the wolves or the things. So anyway, this is the same attitude, and very short of patience on some of the things that are just contentious. I have no, tolerance for stupidity, like the fact that I'm not going to be able to get my horse, and I really don't care about the wolves. But somebody was asking, like, why in the world did you not loot those guys, on the last video? I'm like, because I don't need the money, I don't care. Because money happens, I'll get that, and just trying to stay focused on what it is that I'm doing. And maybe she's right. Maybe I should play a little bit more with the thing, but I'm trying to not make these videos too awfully long because I realize already the rambling nature of them and how distracted that I get because there are so many thought processes that all try to come in at once as I'm trying to explain these things. And I would like to be concise as I can, and free up that whole entire voice thing. You see that this has kind of been, I'm rambling a little bit more, but I'm not as stuttered in my explanations of things as I have been in some of the other videos, because this is the way that I play it, man. When I'm playing the game, and that's what I told her, I said when I'm playing the game and I start explaining kind of the backgrounds of one of these stories, it's just hilarious. I can kind of ramble the whole entire thing off and make it make sense, and come to an artful conclusion within a relatively short period of time. But that's because I am looking at my audience's brain, not my own brain. Whoever it is that I'm talking to, I'm focused on some story that I'm specifically directing to them, which is why it has a little more specificity, okay? Where with this, I'm examining my own brain, and it could just spin off 1,400 different ways because of all the different things that are related, or observations that could go a different direction with it, and I'm trying to kind of keep it nailed down to a dull roar for you guys in understanding whatever kind of tiny bits of wisdom that might be in them for you to take going forward, so that you feel like you've spent some quality time with me, whether it's just getting a laugh out of the funny story that I'm telling, or just kind of being, wow, okay, and by some measurable comparison, can take a grain of salt with what it is that I'm telling you that may be affecting and going in on your own life as compared to how it is that I've done with my own life. So when I say live to serve, I'm not kidding. That's exactly it, man. I'll lay it on out for you and show you the formula for how that it is that I might have managed the situation, especially with the glory of hindsight, which always helps. Take that magnifying glass, and apply it in some way that becomes a useful tool for you. And maybe it doesn't save you entirely from whatever experience that you're going through, but maybe it gives you a little bit of breathing space. Maybe it gives you a little bit of a perspective to just give you that space to breathe in, okay? And maybe it gives you that place where you could go like, wow, I learned from her mistakes instead of making that mistake myself also. That's entirely is a possibility. So that's one of the things that I'm saying. A mistake that I've been consistently making up until recently, and I'm just now beginning to understand the extent of, is to not give enough credit to the kinds of things that it takes to find ways to have that joy, and that it's okay to. Some of you right now are sitting there thinking, because there's going to be guys like me, man, that it's not okay to have joy or be happy, that it's somehow we got to have dues to pay, we got to have a price to pay, we have to make it hard, it has to be some kind of so that our value is proven or validated in some way, and it can't, it has to add up that way, or it can't be any other way. Well, what I'm here to tell you is I've realized the fallacy of that. There's something to this whole playing the game thing, and even the relationships that you'll build, and even the things that you'll learn about yourself, to me have proven to be invaluable. And this is a me that I know that I'm going to carry going forward, and a little bit more respectful of going forward. And it's like a fountain of youth. It really is. I guess that's what Jordan Thornton said, was that expression of psychic libido reinvigorates your body from head to toe. And that really resonated with me because that's exactly right on the target of what has happened to me since I've been playing this video game. And I can't say that that's wrong, man. Here's the thing. You want results? Count the results. How many people have I played with? They have no idea. As I say, why do you act like you're 12? Well, because I can, for one, and it doesn't matter, for two. Because I certainly would not have acted like that in my, I was going to say real life. What I'll say is in my former life. I am once again at the crux at this time in my life of a whole entire new life. There is no doubt to me about that. It is made patently clear that that is the case. And what I'm saying is, just as like what I told you before, no matter how much it is that you're going to lose, the ones that are going to vibe with you, you got your ride or dies, okay? You may take only one. I can't tell you how many times I've told people it may only take one to make all the difference. Just like I told you that story about, we were calling her Terry, or we're calling her Jackie, with the $12 socks, right? Only took one. And what I'm telling you is, one can make all the difference. And that one may be the precious thing that you've gotten out of the whole entire 2-year or 8-year experience. And that'll be the one that's your ride or die, man, that you fall forward with. So, So having found that one and understanding how that it is in the same way, whether you have done it consciously or begin to understand this other quality within yourself, or even if you don't, begin to look, okay? See what it is, a component part that you might be missing. Like I said, even a motor works the same way, man. There's the pistons go up and down. There is fuel and spark, okay? It takes both of those components. And there may be one, if you're listing a little bit and things are getting sideways on you, that is drawing attention to something that you have been overlooking. And I can say what that is now for me, and what I can do to now begin to amend that. And that has taken a little bit of shadow work myself to do, because I have to give myself permission to allow it. And that goes against the natural order of my world, which is to not allow, to indulge, or to just play, or whatever, like just cut loose, right? Okay, but what I'm telling you is that is intrinsic to this property that I'm talking about. And so when I say reckless or these kinds of things, it just, you know, not just forgiveness, but, you know, forget about itness. this kind of a thing, man. What I'm telling you is the same way that, like, up the hill and down the hill, at the point of the hill, there's a point, right? What I'm telling you is the point of this one is it's a cutting edge mindset, because it's willing to cut the crap from the whatever and be, you know, just as straightforward and keen with you as you will allow, to the point that it seems savage at times, as I have said. So I wasn't realizing the authentic power that was in it, and yet there it is. And so it's a property that I'm going to explore more of and cultivate, and examine where other places in my life that has been. And like I said, I can tell you right now, without it, I wouldn't be here in Texas right now, because I had to completely throw caution to the wind and risk, again, everything that I had at that time, my house, a marriage, an entire friend set, all the people that I knew, in order to follow the thing that I had been shown that I knew that I needed to do. There was that inner knowing. I was shown in the middle of a very, very dark, deep depressive episode, when I was literally barely conscious, a vision of a place that I had been, and I knew that that is absolutely where I needed to 100% to go. Now, it only took me about another 3 years to make that happen, and I went through a whole lot of personalities getting to there, as explaining why we should, and then why we and evaluating, because everything else was sticking, nothing was working. But I continued to defy, and I continued to proceed forward, even when it began to look like I was going to have to risk everything in order to do it. The call within me was too strong to not do it, and ultimately the one that it reverted to is the same one that I'm talking about, and the one that said, I have to just risk it all and call it not a risk. And if you're interested, Paul in the Bible, in the Christian Bible, has more to say about that kind of a thing. That everything that we have here of this earth is a vapor. That is exactly how this one looks at it, and it doesn't matter the extent of your wealth or your riches or your stock that you have in things, or the conventions or the traditions or the dogma or the doctrine or any of those kinds of things. He doesn't care about those things. Those are not real things, and those are taught things. Because as a child, when you come out, and that's why I'm equating it with the pure Eternus, when you come out as a child, you don't know any of those kinds of things. Those things get foisted upon you, and those things you pick up like ticks. Okay? But he has attachment or connection to any of those kinds of things, and that includes all the physical things of the world. All the material things of the world, he cared less. Because he knows more good is coming, for one, and he's willing to take the chance on better, for two, okay? So this is an important property and quality. And what I'm going to be looking into next is, classically, in traditional psychoanalysis, and as far back as Greek mythology, this has always been depicted as a male. Which is kind of interesting, because if you haven't noticed, almost everything that I do has always been from a male perspective or mindset, a masculine mindset. From the construction, all this kind of stuff. Well, what I'm telling you is, that's how you be a nearly 6 foot tall blonde cowgirl that's pretty good looking, and still run a crew of 6 guys without having anyone ever catcalls or suggestive any kind, because I have a commanding presence and masculine presence. I don't have that happen. For as exposed as I was in the community that I was, nobody ever was like, gosh, you're so cute. Nobody ever said those kinds of things to me. Okay? Because they could read in my energy that I'm all about the business. There was no play, man. There's no guile, for one. That's what was very important to me as well. There's not an ounce of guile. I am impeccably disciplined on these kinds of things. Well, it didn't leave much room. And I've been choking out a property of me that is a life-giving force as much or more as anything else that I've ever done in my entire life, and that has been a mistake, and one that I intend to rectify right now. And this one is, unfortunately for you guys, kind of a dissertation on my own personal growth and expansion as I'm doing it in real time, Shadow Kings. But this is kind of how I'm doing it, and this is what has led me to where I'm at right here. Is that same thought process? What the hell? I go to push the button, I'm freaking out about live streaming, or I'm freaking out about making another video, and I use that same property or component. Oh, what the heck? What I got to just push the button. See, it's a liberating force in a lot of ways, and it just lets me free of any of the bonds by not considering the consequences of them. You understand? I'm not saying necessarily we should let this irreducible rascality run rampant, But yeah, can we not keep him on such a short leash from now on, maybe? Maybe. Because maybe he has a little bit more wit and sophistication than he lets on with all his silly, charming play, all these kinds of things. Or her. I'm going to look into the idea of maybe that there's a feminine pure Eternus as well. And maybe that, and that's kind of the aspect that I need to kind of bring out in myself as well, because that's reached the limit about what it is that we can do with the boss attitude that we have had. And I'm doing myself a disservice and an injustice by not exploring the deeper reaches of me, including the ones that we buried ourselves, which I did. I'm the one that did that. And I told you that I did, and why. Part of why. Maybe someday I'll go into more of why that is. In any case, it's a component that I came with originally. It's original what's the word? Yeah. I had it there. It was a car thing. Anyway, it's original equipment. There we go. And we're going to resurrect it. It's just as easy as that. It literally is. Now, I will say that part of me doing that, having unknowingly beginning to resurrect it, is what has caused the distortion and the disruption, like an earthquake, in my life right now. And I'm aware of that. And I'm a little bit reticent about how that continues. However, having lost once, I will not lose again. And you can be assured that the dynamic is going to be continuing, and we are going to continue to balance that, because we don't become shadow kings and get out of it without it. Been there with me all along. It's going to be a key to progressing out of these dark places, because ultimately, whether we go back in and get our friends or stay for a while or just examine and explore those things, or just commit that low baseline, man. Come on down. Well, Jesus ate with the sinners too, man. It's your inner sinner. It literally is. There's a reason that he said that. It's not so far off from our Lord and Savior. And that's exactly what he said. He's like, not only am I eat with sinners, because that's the guys that need help, and I know you don't like it, but I'm going to continue to do it anyway. See how that it is that he has that defiance? Because of his righteousness. And what I'm saying is there's righteousness to this as well. And if we begin to kind of understand that, then maybe we feel a different way about how that it is that we might employ that mode. And if we understand, like for me personally, that was the thing that I was rejecting. And he tells us it'll be the one that the builders rejected. He tells us. Jesus told us that, right? He's right. And not only that, when it seems like the worst thing that you could be, for to me it did, that mindless, that careless, that inner demon that I fought every step of the way. What happens when you find out that inner demon is you? That was my worst enemy, guys. And it takes being a shadow king to rectify that situation and put the things in the proper place so that the linkages and the connections and the components can work to the most high efficient good, to the perfect timing, you understand?